In sunny San Diego, Owen Price, a 37-year-old millionaire CEO of a pharmaceutical empire, leads a life of sterile success. Behind the glass walls of his lavish lab, his heart remains haunted by the woman he let go and the future he abandoned. One afternoon, at a bustling market fair, a 10-year-old girl with ink-stained fingers and a crooked smile looks up and shouts, "Dad!" The crowd freezes. So does Owen. Her name is Zoe. She sells artisan bars from a shelter, and she just cracked open a past Owen believed was long buried. As questions swirl, Owen follows the thread. Back to Lily, the resilient ex he left behind. She once loved him fiercely but vanished after his father Paul, ruthless and calculating, sent her a message claiming Owen wanted no part in fatherhood. A lie. A betrayal. Now, with the fragrance of violet bars clinging to his fingers, Owen begins to uncover a truth far more painful and far more beautiful than he imagined. A crafted block embodies renewal, not just of skin, but of guilt, regret, and broken ties. Can a man built on logic and labs learn to become a father, a partner, a human again? And will Lily trust him enough to open the door? This isn't just a story of wealth. It's a tale of rediscovery, of molded hope. Subscribe to see this heartfelt story unfold. The morning sun poured through the glass walls of Owen Price's private lab, casting sterile light on polished steel counters and tall shelves of compounds. In the heart of San Diego's biotech corridor, Owen stood still, staring at a vial in his hand, but his thoughts were far away. At 37, he was the mind behind one of the country's most successful pharmaceutical companies. Creative, calculated, acclaimed, but inside, Owen felt a quiet ache. No medicine could fix it. "Sir, your keynote is in 30, his assistant called from the hallway. Owen didn't respond. Instead, he walked to the side exit. "Take me to the market," he told his driver. "Somewhere with people, noise." They arrived at Coastal Market Plaza. Kids ran through bubbles. Vendors shouted over booths filled with candles, art, crafted creations. The breeze carried notes of spice, violet, and vitality. Owen slowed near a bright table of bars molded into shells, stars, and suns. That's when he heard it. "Dad?" He turned fast. A girl, no older than 10, stared at him wide-eyed. Curls framed her face. She offered a petite creation carved as a starfish. I'm sorry," she stammered, cheeks pink. "You looked like someone." Owen's heart beat wildly. "What's your name?" "Zoe," she said, smiling now. "Want to buy one? I made this at the shelter." He reached into his coat, pulled out 100. "Keep the change." Her small hand grazed his. The bar felt textured, sun-warmed in his palm. Something in his chest cracked. "You have your mom's eyes," he said, barely audible. Zoe tilted her head. "Do you know my mom?" He froze. "No." "Just a guess." She nodded slowly. "Well, thanks, mister." Owen walked away, clutching the bar like it might vanish. Back in the car, he gazed at the molded creation. Violet bloom and herb essence. Familiar, painfully so. He opened his phone, typed one word. Lily. The name alone made his hands shake. It had been 11 years. She wanted a child. He didn't, or thought he didn't, until Paul, his father, stepped in, said Lily was just after money, said she never wanted kids anyway, said she left. Owen had believed him. But Zoe, she had Lily's eyes. That night, sleep never came. The bar rested on his bedside table, molded by hand, real. He grabbed his laptop, shelter websites, volunteer lists, craft vendors, and then a photo. Lily Harper, volunteer coordinator at the downtown women's shelter. Still beautiful, stronger now, standing beside Zoe, both smiling, both covered in dye. Owen whispered, "Is she mine?" His hand trembled as he touched the photo. The girl who shouted, "Dad," the woman he walked away from. And one sculpted block, quietly waiting, like a memory he couldn't scrub away. Hours later, Owen stood at the edge of the downtown shelter's parking lot, gripping the crafted bar like it might answer all the questions in his chest. The shelter was tucked between a shuttered dry cleaner and a dented taco truck, its paint chipped, the roof sagging under old gutters. A girl's laughter floated from behind the building. Owen followed the sound. Around the back, a handful of kids crowded around a fold-out table under a tarp. Bottles of oils, buckets of glycerin, and plastic molds lay scattered like a tiny factory. At the center stood Zoe. "Careful, too much dye and it turns black," she shouted, giggling. She wore oversized gloves and a ponytail so tight it bounced when she moved. Owen hesitated, then stepped closer. Zoe spotted him first. Her smile flickered, unsure. "Oh, it's the bar guy." He grinned softly. "Hi, Zoe." The kids quieted. One boy whispered, "That your dad?" Zoe shot him a look. "No, he just bought a bar." Then she looked back at Owen. "Why are you here?" "I wanted to learn more about your workshop." She tilted her head. "You're strange, aren't you?" "I've been called worse." She cracked a smile. "Come on, I'll show you." Zoe walked him through every step. Melt, pour, scent, set. Her hands moved with confidence. "Where'd you learn all this?" Owen asked. "My mom. She used to make it when I was little, before the shelter." He nodded, careful not to push. "She must be proud." Zoe didn't answer. Instead, she reached under the table and pulled out a round mold. A sunflower shape. This was her favorite, she said quietly. The mold was faded, scratched, but she held it like treasure. That's when the back door creaked open. A woman stepped out, tired eyes, sleeves rolled to her elbows, clipboard in one hand. Lily. Her gaze landed on Owen, and time stopped. She didn't speak, neither did he. Zoe looked between them. "Mom, this is the guy I told you about." Lily's face paled. "You need to leave," she said flatly. "Lily, please, just give me 5 minutes. I don't owe you anything." "I know. I saw Zoe yesterday. She called me Dad. She didn't know who you were." Owen swallowed hard. "Is she mine?" Lily crossed her arms. "You walked away, Owen. You made your choice." "No, I didn't. I never got the chance." She laughed bitterly. Don't rewrite history now." He stepped closer. "Did you ever get an email from me, 10 years ago, saying I didn't want kids?" Lily froze. Her lips parted slightly. "Yes," she whispered. "It broke me." Owen's voice cracked. "I never wrote it." Lily stared, uncertain. "My father," he said. "Paul. He must have—" "I don't want to hear this. Lily, please. Let me explain. Let me make things right." She looked down, her voice soft now. "Zoe doesn't know who you are. She's safe here. This is her life. I don't want to disrupt that. I just want to know her." Zoe lingered close, clutching a sunflower-shaped mold, watching everything. Lily finally nodded. "You can visit, but no promises, no pressure. She's been through enough." Owen nodded slowly. "Thank you." Zoe approached, holding out the sunflower mold. "You want to try making one?" He smiled. "I'd love to." As they poured the melted base into the worn mold, Owen felt something shift. Not fixed, but beginning. The sunflower shape cooled slowly, and in its warm scent of honey and lemon, Owen felt the first layer of something long buried start to soften. The next few days moved in quiet waves. Owen returned to the shelter each afternoon, trading boardrooms for buckets of glycerin, silence for the chatter of kids learning to create something from scratch. He wore rolled-up sleeves and old jeans, always 2 steps behind Zoe, who was clearly the real expert. "Not too much lemon oil," she warned one day, holding up a creation with pride. "It'll smell like cleaning spray, not cookies." Owen grinned. "Got it, boss." She gave a dramatic sigh. "You're improving, slowly." Behind them, Lily watched through the narrow window in the staff office. Her arms were folded, expression unreadable. Later, she stepped out with a stack of papers. "You're becoming a regular." Owen shrugged. "I'm just here for quality control." "You mean Zoe's eye rolls?" "She's tough. Reminds me of someone." Lily smirked. "She's tougher than both of us combined." A quiet pause settled between them. The aroma of violet and melted base drifted in the air. Then Owen spoke, voice low. "I didn't write that email, Lily. I swear. I never would have told you to walk away." "I believed you," she said softly. "Because I had to. I was already pregnant. And scared. Why didn't you tell me?" "I tried. You never answered." Owen's jaw clenched. "Paul had access to everything. My accounts, my inbox. I thought you vanished." She looked away. "I thought you abandoned us." Another pause. Then Lily said, "Zoe's strong. Because she had to be. But she deserves more than shelters and patchwork dreams." Owen nodded. "Let me help. Not just her. The others too. Give them space to build something real." Her eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" He reached into his satchel and pulled out a proposal. Blueprints, budgets, and a check. A full workshop. Heat-safe counters, materials, supplies. A place these kids can grow something of their own. Lily scanned the papers. "Why?" "Because I should have been there. And I can't change the past, but I can help build a better now." She hesitated. "Zoe doesn't need you to be a hero. She just needs you to show up. Honestly." "Will." The next day, Zoe burst into the room holding a tray of still-wet bars. "Look what I made." Owen leaned down. "Those are amazing." She pointed at a special one, molded into a tiny heart, half pink, half white. "This one's yours," she said. "I mixed 2 scents, rose and rosemary. One is me, one's mom. You kind of smell like rosemary, you know?" Owen laughed softly. "I'll treasure it." He slipped it into his pocket like it was made of gold. As Zoe returned to stir the next batch, Owen caught Lily's gaze from across the room. There was something new in her eyes. Not forgiveness, not yet, but something warmer, hope. Back at the lab that night, Owen ignored a calendar alert about the European Investor Summit. He stared instead at the tiny heart-shaped bar on his desk, its soft edges glistening under the light. He picked up his phone. "Hey, Jason," he told his CFO. "Reschedule the Zurich trip. Something more important's come up." And, in that simple, quiet choice, Owen felt something shift. Not everything was fixable. But some things could be rebuilt. One artisan block at a time. Owen stepped out of the lab elevator with his phone pressed to his ear, jaw tight. "Dad, we need to talk." Paul Price's voice came through, cool and rehearsed. "Owen, I'm in the middle of a board briefing. This won't wait." Silence, then a sigh. "Fine, 15 minutes, my office." 15 minutes later, Owen walked into a suite lined with patent plaques and oil paintings. Paul stood behind his desk, arms folded, expression unreadable. "What's so urgent?" Owen pulled out his phone, tapped once and slid it across the desk. "Read that." Paul squinted at the screen. It was the email from a decade ago, the one Lily had received. "I don't want this life. I don't want a child. I'm done." Paul's face didn't flinch. "I didn't write that," Owen said, voice low. "But Lily got it, and she believed it. You knew I wouldn't check my sent mail. You deleted her replies before I could see them." Paul didn't deny it. You were about to throw everything away for a girl who didn't belong in this world. She belonged in my world, Owen snapped. You robbed me of a daughter. Paul sat down, calm as ever. And look at you now, CEO, respected, rich beyond measure. I'd trade all of it for the 10 birthdays I missed. Paul leaned forward. This company runs on clear decisions, not emotional whims. You think playing house with a shelter girl makes up for lost time? Owen stepped back. I'm not asking for your approval. I came to tell you I'm out. Paul blinked. Out? I'm restructuring, giving up my controlling shares. I'll keep my lab. The rest, put in a trust, for community education, starting with a craft program at the shelter. You're walking away from your own empire? I'm walking towards something real. That night, back at the shelter, Zoe sat at the folding table, stacking her creations into neat rows. Mom says you're coming to the fair this weekend. Owen smiled. Wouldn't miss it. Zoe hesitated, then pulled a small notebook from her bag. She flipped to a page and held it out. A crayon drawing. 3 stick figures. Zoe in the middle, smiling, holding hands with a woman and a man in glasses and messy hair. This is us, she said quietly. I draw it when I feel happy. Is that okay? Owen stared at the page. His throat tightened. Yeah, he whispered. That's more than okay. Lily stood a few feet away, listening. When Zoe ran off to show her friends, she stepped closer. You're really leaving the company? I can't keep living in a tower built on lies, Owen replied. This place, this little workshop, that's the first place I felt like a human in years. Lily nodded slowly. You're doing the right thing. I just wish I hadn't been so late. She looked at him carefully. Zoe's never asked why she didn't have a dad. I think she always knew someone was missing, but she never blamed you. I blamed me enough for both of us. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Lily reached into her coat and pulled out the heart-shaped bar Zoe had made, the one she'd given to Owen. She snuck this into my bag, said it smelled like forgiveness. Owen took it in his hands. It does. He looked down at the little heart, faint fingerprints still pressed into its surface. A reminder that nothing perfect is ever born. It's shaped, little by little. And sometimes even second chances come with rose and rosemary. Owen sat alone in his apartment, lights dim. The crayon drawing Zoe gave him spread across the coffee table. The tiny figures, Zoe between 2 adults, her smile wide, seemed to glow under the lamp's warmth. He traced the lines with his thumb. She had drawn him with glasses, like he wore years ago, back when Lily used to tease him for squinting at street signs. He had missed a decade. First steps, first words. A whole life blooming without him. Outside, rain tapped gently on the windows, soft and rhythmic, like a clock reminding him how long he'd been gone. He picked up his phone, hesitated, then called. Lily answered on the second ring. Hi, he said. She waited. I can't stop thinking about what I missed, Owen said. All those years. Did she ever ask about me? Lily's voice was quiet. Not directly. She knew not to. But she drew. A lot. He looked down at the sketch again. She always drew a man holding her hand, Lily continued. Sometimes with a bar, sometimes with flowers. Once, with a telescope. I think she imagined who you could have been. Owen swallowed hard. I don't want to be imaginary anymore. There was a pause. Then Lily said, Tomorrow's a big prep day. For the fair. You can come. Help. If you want to show up, I'll be there. The next morning, Owen arrived early. Zoe was already in full focus, organizing labels and ribbons like a tiny executive. Hey, she said, tossing him a roll of twine. You're late. Fair's in 2 days. He grinned. Guess I need a promotion to assistant manager. She laughed, then pulled out something from a tote bag. I made a new scent, she said proudly, "Want to name it?" He took the small creation, pink and mint green, swirled together like ribbon candy. "Smells like strawberry and rosemary," he said. "How about fresh start?" Zoe's eyes lit up. "Yes, that's perfect." Lily glanced over from the corner, pretending not to listen, but Owen saw the slight smile tug at her lips. They spent the rest of the day printing tags, tying ribbons, and practicing Zoe's speech for the fair. At one point, Zoe sat cross-legged on the floor, gluing price tags. "Can I ask something?" she said. "Of course." "Why weren't you there before?" The room went still. Owen knelt beside her. "I thought you didn't want me," she added, not accusing, just curious. Owen took a breath. "I didn't know about you, Zoe. Someone told your mom I didn't want a family, but it wasn't true." She nodded slowly. "Mom says people lie when they're scared." He looked at her gently. "I was scared, but not of you, never of you." Zoe leaned her head against his arm. "I'm glad you're here now." He placed a hand on her back, steady. "So am I." That evening, Lily handed Owen a folded paper. "Zoe wants you to read this before the fair," she said. "She said it's her super official letter." Owen opened it slowly. Inside was a single line in pencil, big block letters. "I hope you never leave again." His chest tightened. He folded the note carefully and slipped it into his wallet, right behind his driver's license. That night, as he lay in bed, he held the Fresh Start bar in his palm, breathing in its scent. Strawberry, rosemary, trust. And, for the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. He felt forgiven. And maybe, just maybe, he was starting to forgive himself. The shelter kitchen smelled like honey and lemongrass, with ribbons scattered across the counters and molds lined up like soldiers awaiting inspection. Zoe moved with purpose, directing volunteers like she owned the place. Owen stood nearby, folding labels. He caught himself smiling, really smiling, for the first time in ages. "Dad," Zoe called out, then paused, cheeks flushing. Owen, can you pass the string?" His hands froze. The word echoed louder than the chatter around them. He handed her the twine, quietly. "You can call me whatever feels right." She shrugged. "It just slipped. Sorry." "Don't be," he said, voice warm. It meant a lot. Across the room, Lily stirred melted base with a long wooden spoon, her movements practiced, precise. Owen approached slowly. "Can I talk to you?" She nodded, stepping outside. The back lot was quiet, lit only by a single security bulb. "I've been thinking," Owen began. "If Zoe is mine, and I believe she is, shouldn't I legally be part of her life?" Lily's jaw tightened. "You want custody?" "I want a place in her life that no one can take away. Not even my father." She folded her arms. "You're serious?" "I'm meeting with a lawyer. I want to do this right." Lily hesitated. "Zoe's been through enough. She doesn't need a courtroom to question where she belongs. I'm not asking to take her. I'm asking to stand beside her, permanently." Lily studied him. "You'll need a paternity test." "I already scheduled one." Silence. Then she looked away. "I didn't keep her from you out of hate. I was told you didn't want her, and by the time I found out that wasn't true, I was too angry to reach out." Owen nodded slowly. "And I was too blind to question it." The next week passed in fragments. Lawyers, forms, lab visits, whispered questions. Zoe didn't know the full story, but she sensed the tension. One evening, she found Owen sitting on the curb, staring at the sidewalk, spinning a Fresh Start bar between his fingers. "Why are you sad?" she asked, sitting beside him. "I'm not sad," he said, "just nervous." She offered him a purple marker. Draw with me." On the concrete, she started sketching a sun. He added clouds. She drew a tall tree. He added roots. Then, carefully, she drew 3 stick figures again, herself, Lily, and Owen, but this time they were inside the tree. "See?" she said. "We're planted now." He blinked quickly. "I love that." Back inside, Lily sat at the table, reading an email on her phone. She looked up. Paternity test came back. Owen waited. "You're her father," she said softly. "It's official." He sat down across from her, hands trembling. "I want to co-parent," she said. "Share decisions, share her life, but no fighting, no courtrooms. She deserves peace." Owen nodded. "Peace? Absolutely." Lily took something from her pocket, a small sunflower creation, like the one Zoe made that first day. "She made this today, said it was for celebrating something new." He took it, carefully, held it to his chest. "You think we can build something better?" he asked. Lily's voice was steady. "We already are." Outside, Zoe pressed her hands to the glass, watching her 2 favorite grown-ups talk without raised voices, without tension. She smiled and whispered to herself, "Told you so." Inside, beneath soft light and the scent of lemongrass, 3 lives finally began to grow, not apart, but together, not perfect, but planted, just like Zoe's tree. Owen paced the sidewalk outside the shelter, phone pressed to his ear. The sky was overcast, but his thoughts moved faster than the clouds overhead. "Yeah, I'll need everything you can find," he said firmly. "Email metadata, backups, any server logs from 10 years ago." The private investigator on the other end nodded. "We'll dig. If it was faked, there's a fingerprint somewhere." Owen ended the call, slipping the phone into his pocket just as Zoe came barreling out the front door. "Dad, Owen, you coming in? We need help with wrapping." He smiled. "I'm right behind you." Inside, the workshop buzzed with energy. Kids tied ribbons, pasted price tags, and debated cents. Zoe guided him to a corner table. "These are the thank you bars for donors. I made a new blend, vanilla and cedar." He picked one up. "Smells like hope and campfires." "Exactly," she beamed. Across the room, Lily watched with folded arms. She'd seen Owen change bit by bit, but she also knew how easily things fell apart. Later that evening, while Zoe played outside, Lily pulled Owen aside. "She's getting attached," she said quietly. "Not just to you, to the idea of you staying. I'm not going anywhere. She needs consistency, not just visits and gifts." "I know," Owen said. "That's why I'm doing something behind the scenes." He handed her a folder, property papers, permits, blueprints. "What's this?" "A new facility, 2 blocks from the shelter, a permanent studio, with funding for staff and supplies, not just for Zoe, for every kid here." Lily blinked. "You've been planning this?" "I don't want to just show up for Zoe. I want to lift everything she cares about." She opened the folder again, touched the paper like it might disappear. "You didn't have to." "No," he said softly. "But I should have. Years ago." That night, after everyone left, Owen returned to the lab alone. His office, once the pinnacle of his pride, now felt cold, sterile. He pulled out the folder again, reviewing the documents. A knock came at the door. He looked up, startled. Paul stood there, tailored as ever, holding a glass of scotch. "You really are unraveling everything I built," Paul said, walking in. Owen didn't flinch. "I'm rebuilding what you tried to destroy." Paul set the glass down. "So dramatic. It was one email. One email that erased my daughter's first decade. She would have ruined you. You were on track for the board, for legacy. I didn't want legacy. I wanted family." Paul narrowed his eyes. "You think this soft version of you impresses me?" Owen stepped forward. "I don't care if it does." Paul reached into his jacket and tossed a USB drive onto the table. "What's that?" Insurance, Paul said coolly. The original draft of that email. You dictated it. I only pressed send. Owen picked it up, shaking. You recorded me. You said it in anger. I made sure it stuck. Owen stared at the drive, then at his father. You lied to both of us, and you justified it with strategy. Paul raised his glass. You're welcome. Owen's voice hardened. Get out. Paul chuckled. Enjoy your bars, son. After he left, Owen stood in silence holding the drive. He thought of Zoe's drawing, the tree, the roots. Then, calmly, he walked to his safe, locked the drive inside, and turned away. Some truths didn't need exposure to be defeated. They just needed to be left behind. Outside the window, streetlights flickered on, and for the first time, Owen didn't feel trapped in his father's shadow. He felt free. Zoe's crafted creation still sat on his desk, fresh start, carved into its surface. And for Owen, that name finally felt real. Morning light spilled into the shelter workshop as Zoe hummed to herself, arranging bars into neat pyramids. She had labeled each one with hand-cut tags that read, Hope, Crafted. Owen stood near the window, watching her. It still amazed him how something so small, one word, one bar, could shift everything. Lily walked in holding a clipboard. She's been up since 6, she said. Fair prep jitters. She gets it from you, Owen replied. They exchanged a glance. Things between them weren't perfect, but they were warming, like violet on the stove, gentle, slow, real. A buzz in Owen's pocket broke the moment. He glanced down. A message from the investigator. Found it. Email was forged. Origin. Paul Price. We have digital confirmation. His stomach dropped, even though he'd suspected it all along. Proof made it real. That afternoon, Owen drove to the family estate. The gates opened automatically, just like they always had. But this time, the house felt different. Cold. Too clean. Paul was on the patio, sipping from a glass, the ocean glittering behind him. You've come to gloat? Paul asked. Owen dropped the printed report onto the table. You stole 10 years from me. From Zoe. Paul raised an eyebrow. You needed direction. I needed the truth. Paul leaned back. And what does truth get you now? Sentiment? A few craft booths? Owen's voice sharpened. A daughter who trusts me. A woman who finally sees me trying. Paul stood slowly. You always were too emotional. That's why I protected you. You didn't protect me, Owen said. You erased me from my own life. Paul stepped closer. You think the board will still respect you if they know you walked away for a kid you never met? Owen met his gaze. I don't need their respect. I need my daughter's. He turned and walked away, the folder left open on the table, the truth printed in black and white. That night, Owen met Lily at the shelter kitchen. He handed her a copy of the report. She read it in silence. He forged it? She whispered. He manipulated both of us. I didn't abandon you. I was cut out of my own story. Lily set the paper down. I don't know whether to scream or cry. I already did both. She looked up at him. You could sue him, ruin him. Owen shook his head. That's not what Zoe needs. She needs us. Together, steady. Lily's voice softened. And what do you need? He looked at her, really looked. I need this. Us. However long it takes to earn it. A knock interrupted them. Zoe peeked in, holding something behind her back. I made something, she said, for the fair booth. She held out a mold, larger than usual, shaped like an open book. Inside the imprint read, Everyone deserves a second chapter. Lily's breath caught. Owen smiled, his eyes misting. Did you write that? Zoe nodded. I thought, some people don't get a fresh start, but maybe they can still write something better. Pania knelt beside her. Zoe, that's beautiful. She shrugged. It's only a bar, you know. No, Lily whispered. It's a story, and it's ours now. They stood there together, framed by warm kitchen light and the scent of lemon balm. 3 people, one past, and a second chapter beginning to unfold. The sun rose early over San Diego, casting long golden stripes across the shelter's new workshop. Inside, sawdust lingered from the final touches. New tables, a row of gleaming molds, and shelves lined with neatly boxed ingredients. Owen stood by the window, watching Zoe hang a hand-painted sign above the door. The Craft House. She turned to him, hands on her hips. Grand opening is in 2 hours. You nervous? He laughed. Terrified. Zoe grinned. You'll do fine. Just don't drop the scissors this time. Outside, volunteers were setting up booths, folding chairs, and streamers. It wasn't just about bars anymore. This was a celebration. For the kids, the community, and for one little girl who brought a broken man back to life. Lily walked in holding a clipboard and a tray of sample creations. Her eyes scanned the room with quiet pride. It looks amazing, she said. Owen nodded. Thanks to you. And Zoe. I just wrote checks. No, she said softly. You showed up. Every day. That's the part that counts. Just then, Owen's phone buzzed. He stared at it for a beat. The notification read, Investor Summit in Zurich, today. He had forgotten to reschedule. Lily saw his face. Something wrong? It's nothing important, he said, silencing the alert. Zoe came running in. Guess what? I made a new creation for the ribbon cutting. It's called Stay. Want to see? Owen knelt beside her. I do. She held it up, green swirls with tiny flecks of gold, shaped like a small anchor. I made it last night, she said, because sometimes people go away, and sometimes they stay. His throat tightened. It's perfect. Minutes before the event, the courtyard filled with families, kids, and local press. The mayor sent a letter. Local businesses sent donations. But all Owen saw was Zoe standing proudly in front of a microphone, ready to speak. She tapped the mic. Hi, I'm Zoe, and this place is for kids like me who like to make things, even when things are hard. She held up the creation. This one's called Stay, because when people stay, good things grow. Applause erupted. Owen felt Lily slide her hand gently into his. He didn't look at her. He just held it tight. After the ceremony, Owen stepped aside to take a call. His assistant's voice came through. Sir, the Zurich board is furious. They said if you don't land this contract, they're pulling their funding. Owen glanced back at the courtyard, at Zoe, laughing with her friends, handing out gift bags. He exhaled. Then let them pull it, he said. I've already invested in something better. Later that night, the shelter kids stayed late, giggling over leftover cake and glitter stuck to their arms. Owen sat on the floor beside Zoe, both of them tired but glowing. She leaned against his arm. You didn't go to your meeting? Nope, he said. Why? He smiled. Because I already found what matters. She paused. Is it me? He looked at her, eyes soft. It's always been you. I just didn't know it until now. She smiled and handed him a small bag. Here, this is for tomorrow. It's my lucky bar. Inside was a heart-shaped creation with 3 initials pressed into it. ZLO. Zoe, Lily, Owen, she explained. It's our family bar. Owen stared at it, speechless. Lily watched from across the room, and for the first time since they reconnected, she saw it not as a second chance, but a beginning. A future worth fighting for. One crafted creation at a time. A week after the fair, the sun filtered gently through the tall windows of the new workshop, casting soft light on the jars of colorants, dried flowers, and molds neatly lined on the shelves. Zoe sat at the center table, elbows deep in a new batch of lavender oatmeal bars. Her tongue peeked out in concentration as she sprinkled crushed petals across the top. Owen entered, carrying 2 coffees and a warm cinnamon bun wrapped in wax paper. "For the artist," he said, setting it beside her. She glanced up. "Extra icing?" "Always." Lily stepped out from the back room with a box of new supplies, pausing to watch the two of them. The rhythm between them had changed. Closer now. Familiar. "We got another order," she said. 30 favor packs for a bridal shower downtown." Zoe lit up. "We're practically famous." Owen smiled. "Think we need a manager?" She raised a brow. "I am the manager." Laughter filled the space, but beneath the joy something tender lingered, like the scent of herb essence still clinging to their hands. Later that afternoon, Zoe pulled Owen aside while Lily met with a vendor. "I made you something," she said, fishing a tiny wrapped box from her backpack. He opened it slowly. Inside was a creation carved in the shape of a tiny house, detailed with windows and a crooked chimney. "It's called home," she said, "because that's what it feels like now." Owen didn't speak. His throat closed too tight. Zoe looked at him. "You're not going anywhere, right?" He knelt. "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." That evening, as golden hour lit the city, the three of them sat on the shelter's small rooftop garden, watching the last light dip behind the skyline. Lily leaned her head on Owen's shoulder. "You missed this view for a long time." "I missed a lot more than this," he murmured. She smiled. "But you're here now." Zoe sat cross-legged in front of them, doodling in her sketchbook. "What you drawing?" Owen asked. "A new label design," she said without looking up. "It's for a special bar we should make." "Yeah? What's it called?" She turned the pad around. In big, loopy letters, it read, "Second Chances." The sketch beneath showed a creation shaped like a sunrise, half golden, half lavender, with 3 small hearts inside. Lily's voice caught. "That's beautiful, Zoe." "I thought it could be for people who think it's too late to fix things," she said. "But maybe it's not." Owen reached out and traced the drawing lightly with his thumb. "It's perfect," he whispered. As the evening breeze picked up, Zoe stood and spread her arms wide. "We should sell it at the next fair, and maybe give one away to anyone who says sorry for something." Lily laughed. "That might get expensive." Zoe shrugged. "Forgiveness should be free." Owen looked at Lily, their eyes holding a quiet understanding. "I'll make the mold," he said. She nodded. "I'll help with the packaging." Zoe clapped. "Then it's settled? Second Chances is officially in production." And in that rooftop moment, beneath the fading sun, surrounded by laughter, sketches, and the soft smell of dried lavender, they weren't just making bars. They were healing, building something new, together. And that, more than anything else, was the most beautiful blend of all. In the heart of the workshop, the air smelled like eucalyptus and orange zest. The shelves were full, each creation wrapped with handwritten tags by the shelter kids. But today, something different sat on the counter. Zoe's newest work, a bar shaped like a teardrop, half blue, half white, with tiny flecks of gold pressed in. Owen picked it up gently. "What's this one called?" Zoe smiled proudly. "It's called Clean Slate." He nodded slowly, fingers brushing over the surface. "You keep finding new ways to say things that grown-ups forget how to," she shrugged. "Bars don't fix everything, but they help you feel like you can start over." Across the room, Lily taped up a flyer for their next community fair. She watched the two of them, father and daughter, shoulders nearly touching, no space between them anymore. Later that day, while Zoe attended a reading circle upstairs, Owen and Lily sat on the back steps of the shelter with mugs of tea in hand. "You've changed," Lily said quietly. "I used to look at you and see distance. Now I see someone trying." Owen looked at her. "Trying doesn't feel like enough sometimes." "It's everything," she whispered. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out something small. Zoe's very first creation, the one she sold at the fair, the one that started it all. Still wrapped in crinkled wax paper, slightly faded, but intact. "I kept it," he said, "every day since." Lily stared at it. "Why?" "Because it reminded me of the first time I saw her and knew, deep down, she was mine. Before I even had proof." She blinked, emotions catching in her throat. "I didn't expect you to stay. Not really. But you did." Owen turned toward her. "Do you think we could ever be more again? Not just co-parents, but us?" Lily hesitated. "That depends." "On what?" She smiled softly. "On whether you're willing to build trust the way Zoe builds bars, one layer at a time," he chuckled. "Then I'll need a lot of molds." They both laughed, the sound light, earned. Inside, Zoe ran downstairs with something clutched in her hand. "Guys," she called, "come see." They followed her to the front table, where she had assembled a small shadow box made from an old crate. Inside sat her drawings, a few ribbons from recent fairs, and 3 creations: Fresh Start, Second Chances, and Clean Slate. At the top, in glittery marker, it read, "Our story, so far." Lily touched her shoulder. "Zoe, this is beautiful." Zoe looked at Owen. "It's not done yet. I left space." He crouched beside her. "For what?" She pulled out a blank label. "For the next bar. But I don't know what to name it yet." Owen glanced at Lily. "How about Forgiven?" Zoe paused, then nodded slowly. "I like that." They stood there, 3 hands gently resting on the edge of the shadow box. A family not born perfect, but remade through patience, truth, and tiny, fragrant steps. And in the quiet of that room, surrounded by things once broken and now beautiful, something more than bars was being shaped. It was redemption. Soft in texture. Steady in scent. Strong enough to hold 3 hearts. It was early evening when Owen parked outside his father's estate. The air smelled of salt and citrus, but something bitter clung beneath it. Unfinished business. Inside, Paul sat at the head of a long table, swirling a glass of wine like a man who still believed he held the world in his palm. "You've been busy," Paul said without looking up. "Charity events, shelters, crafting. It's quaint." Owen walked to the center of the room and laid the forged email printout on the table. "You cost me 10 years with my daughter," Owen said, voice steady. "And you manipulated Lily to disappear. All for what? Control?" Paul sipped his wine. "For legacy. For your future." Owen leaned forward. "No. For your version of my future. One that left no room for love, family, or forgiveness." "You were weak. She would have distracted you," Paul snapped. "She grounded me," Owen said. "And Zoe, she gave me purpose. Real legacy isn't a company name on a building. It's what you build in the people you love." Paul scoffed. "So, what now? You want an apology?" "I want the truth out." Owen pulled a small recorder from his coat pocket. "You're on tape admitting you forged the email, and I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for closure." Paul's face hardened. "You'd destroy me." Owen shook his head. "No, you already did that to yourself." He turned and walked toward the door. "I'm giving you a choice. Step down quietly, transfer your shares, or the board hears everything." Silence. Then Paul muttered, "You're a fool." Owen paused. "Maybe, but I'm a fool who's finally doing the right thing." Outside, Lily waited in the car, arms crossed, but her eyes searched his. "Well?" "He knows it's over," Owen said. "I didn't need to scream. Just told the truth." She nodded slowly. "That's enough for me." Back at the shelter, Zoe sat in the workshop, surrounded by scraps and ribbons. She was carving a new design, 2 hands cupped together, holding a heart. When Owen and Lily walked in, she held it up proudly. "This one's called Truth. It's for hard stuff you can't hide anymore." Lily knelt beside her. "It's beautiful, sweetheart." Zoe looked at Owen. "Did you tell him?" "I did," Owen said gently. "And I didn't yell. I just told him what he took, and what he can't have any more." She blinked. "Us?" He nodded. "Us." The next morning, Owen drafted a letter to the board. He didn't want to ruin his father's name, but he also wouldn't let it be tied to his own any longer. He proposed a transfer, a clean exit, and an anonymous donation to expand the shelter's reach. No press, no lawsuits, just accountability. When he finished, Zoe slipped in quietly with a soft creation in her hands. "Look," she said, "I made a gift." She placed it on his desk, 3 small creations tied together with a gold ribbon. One read, "Past." The second, "Present." The last, "Possible." He stared at them for a long time. "Zoe," he whispered, "you're the wisest person I know." She grinned. "I read it in a book." He pulled her close. "Still counts." And as the afternoon light stretched through the window, Owen knew what had started with a single crafted creation and a word shouted across a fair had become something deeper. Not just a reunion, not just redemption, a reckoning, and finally, a release. The old utility room at the back of the shelter had always smelled faintly of dust and forgotten things. But today, it pulsed with the scent of lemongrass, mint, and laughter. Kids crowded around folding tables as Owen sliced open boxes of supplies, molds, oils, natural dyes. He watched as their eyes widened, their hands eager. "We've got enough here to make 500 bars," he said, setting down the final kit. Zoe jumped up on a stool. "Okay, everybody, today we're making identity bars. Pick your scent, your shape, and your word." One boy raised his hand. "What's an identity bar?" Zoe beamed. "It's a creation that tells your story. Like, mine says resilient." Another girl held up a lavender block. "Mine says brave." Lily entered with trays of mini aprons. "And these are for the artists. No dye on your shoes this time." Owen took a deep breath. "You sure we're ready for this every weekend?" She glanced around at the kids, the chaos, the joy. "I think we're already doing it." That afternoon, Owen met with the director of the shelter. "We've never had a donor ask to volunteer too," she said, smiling. "I'm not here to be a checkbook," Owen replied. "I want to build something that outlives me." She leaned back. "Then let's talk about turning this into a permanent arts program. Bars, candles, lotions, kids learning craft, business, self-worth." Owen nodded. "Exactly." Back in the workshop, Zoe called out, "Dad, come look." He crossed the room. She held up 2 creations, one blue, one gold, both shaped like puzzle pieces. "They fit together," she said. "Mine says, found. Yours says, ready." His eyes misted. "How did you know?" "I just did." Later that week, Owen stood in front of a local school board meeting. "I'm proposing a pilot program," he said. "Craft-based learning for underserved kids. Emotional growth through hands-on creation." One board member squinted. "A pharmaceutical CEO wants to teach crafting?" Owen smiled. "I want to teach healing." By the end of the presentation, he had 3 principals, 2 local business sponsors, and a dozen handshakes. When he returned to the shelter, Lily was helping a group label the newest batch. She looked up and smiled. "Well, it's happening," he said. "They approved the grant. We're expanding." Zoe gasped. We're going citywide? Not yet, he laughed, but soon. That night, Owen sat on the rooftop with Zoe curled beside him, holding a journal she'd begun. I'm writing stories now, she said, about kids who feel invisible, but then they make bars and suddenly, they're seen. He brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. That's because they are seen. You're helping them feel it. She looked up. So are you. Across the city, in a boardroom Owen once ruled with cold precision, his name was being removed from several plaques. Paul had officially stepped down. And Owen? He wasn't looking back. He was too busy building something softer, stronger. The next morning, Zoe ran into the kitchen with a small creation in her hand. Look what I made, Dad! The bar was translucent, a swirl of greens and blues with flecks of gold leaf trapped inside. He turned it in his hand. What's this one called? She whispered, Legacy. And in that one word, carved by tiny fingers, Owen saw his life rewritten, not through fortune or fame, but through purpose, through love, through clean hands and second chances. The air buzzed with voices, laughter, and the scent of citrus and herb essence. The annual San Diego Spring Fair stretched across the park, alive with rows of booths, colorful banners, and families carrying paper bags filled with crafted goods. Right in the center stood a booth marked with hand-painted letters, ZLO Creations. Zoe stood behind the table, apron smudged with dye, proudly arranging bars into neat rows. Each had its own name: Forgiven, Brave, Second Chances. Lily tied ribbons around gift sets while Owen adjusted the canopy for shade. Zoe looked up. Dad, we're almost out of legacy. Owen smiled. I brought another box. He handed her a crate, their fingers brushing as she grinned. Best seller this year. People gathered around, asking questions, taking photos, admiring the displays. One woman said, These creations, they feel like little stories. They are, Zoe answered. Every bar means something. As the sun climbed, the trio worked in rhythm. Zoe chatting with customers, Lily managing the sales, and Owen restocking shelves with calm purpose. Near midday, a balloon popped nearby and startled Zoe. Owen instinctively knelt, hands on her shoulders. You okay? She nodded quickly, then looked around. It's just a lot of people. Owen leaned in. Want to take a break? Zoe thought for a second, then shook her head. No, I want to be here. I helped build this. Just then, a little boy walked up with his mom, clutching $1. I want the blue one, he said shyly. Zoe smiled and picked out a soft, ocean-scented creation, with the word hope pressed into it. She leaned down. This one's for new beginnings. As the boy walked off, Owen exhaled slowly. She's incredible. Lily, beside him, nodded. She's us. Owen looked around the fair, parents with children, rows of crafts, banners blowing in the breeze, and in the center of it all, their booth, their story, their redemption. Then Zoe pulled out a surprise, a new creation, just one. She held it between her palms like it was fragile. I saved this one for the end. Owen and Lily leaned in. It was shaped like a bubble, clear with faint shimmer. Inside, a tiny paper scroll sealed in wax. What's it called? Lily asked. Zoe's eyes sparkled. Bubbles of hope. She explained, when you use it, the bubble melts and you can unroll the scroll. Each one has a message. Owen took the creation, turned it slowly. What does this one say? Zoe whispered, We're a family. That's forever. Lily's breath caught. Owen swallowed hard. And in that moment, standing under a string of fluttering flags, surrounded by strangers buying bits of their story, The three of them knew. This wasn't just a booth at a fair. It was the culmination of pain, forgiveness, truth, and healing. A life rebuilt not in boardrooms or board votes, but with hearts, with hands, and with crafted creations. As the fair wound down and the sky turned golden, Owen stood back and watched Zoe hand out the final bars. Kids blew bubbles nearby, chasing them into the wind. Lily slipped her hand into his. Owen glanced down at their fingers, then back at their daughter. "She saved me," he murmured. "She saved both of us," Lily said. And, as the last bubble rose into the sky, catching sunlight as it drifted, their story floated with it, whole, gentle, and full of hope.